just being bold. Leadership means you have to take decisions that will be risky, that will probably end up being in a failure 90% of the time, but it's that 10% that genuinely makes the biggest difference. So emotional intelligence, having the ability to take bold decisions, and also having humility, um, and being grounded is what I would like to say. Yeah.
Great. So, as a young entrepreneur and change maker, you've already told me how age worked against you.
Yeah.
Credibility was
Right.
an issue.
Right.
You're also a woman. Would you tell me how your gender barred your progress? Did it?
Um, Not to a great extent. I'm so grateful for that. But yes, there were rooms which were predominantly male, which were there was no young person, teenager inside in those rooms. And I think that it takes time for them, more than it does for a male per se, to kind of give you that kind of trust or belief in the fact that you can do it. So it takes time for them to trust in your capability as a founder, as a young person, as a teenager, and as someone who generally wants to, you know, make some meaningful impact. Sometimes you think that you're perceived as just another NGO girl, but sometimes you can also use it to your leverage, age, I mean. Because there were times when I was like, oh my god, I'm the youngest person in the room. But there were also times where I was like, oh my god, I'm the youngest person in the room. So, using age as a leverage is something that I've learned the hard way. There are some people who will look at you and go, oh my god, she's 14. But there are people who will also appreciate you. You're 14. You're doing so much. And I think that acts as a leverage for uh, more people to contribute to the work and to come stand by you as we advance the mission of Project Surya. So that's something that I like to say.
What advice would you give to a young woman who aspires to become a leader and innovator?
I think right now in our generation, everyone's really concerned about how you are perceived. By this, I mean that young people are very apprehensive about doing the things they genuinely like to do because they're scared that their friends will make fun of them or they will be perceived as cringe or embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I feel like embarrassment is a very underexplored emotion. And a lot of people have said this, in fact. You need to put yourself out there. You need to be embarrassing. You need to be cringe. You need to do things that people will probably make fun of. But if it's bringing you closer to something you deeply care about something that you've been dreaming about, a goal that you've had, I'd say like take this step. There are a lot of people who will probably not support you, but for every person who does not, there will be hundreds of people who will. So take that one step. Do not care about what other people think about you. I think just focus on the one task that you have and go for it. Like, don't be scared.
Jiva, after your experience, can you tell us how can institutions, educators and policymakers in India better support the young innovators?
Okay, so I think this can come in both the private and the public sector. In the private sector, I personally feel that there is so much monetary funding that is floating around. If even some small fraction of that could be redirected into funding young people and their ideas, I think we will be miles ahead. As a country, there are so many young Indians that I know and I've come across who get opportunities to represent our country at the international level, be it at United Nations forums or international conferences. But the biggest barrier to entry is funding. We need people, companies, people who have the resources to believe in us, to trust in our abilities, to represent our country. So I'd say, sponsor our flights, enable us to attend these conferences, because the only reason people are not going to these is because of lack of funding. So I think if we are able to get sustainable funding access to go to these forums abroad, we can amplify our work 100 times. And in the public sector, I think the education system as a whole needs to consider introducing thinking outside the box. We need to have more incubation centers. We need to have AI upskilling as a part of the education curriculum. We need to have social innovation labs. We need to have government grants. We need to have centers where young people can just come together, build, innovate, meet, collaborate. And I think with that kind of support, every young person would be incentivized to take that one step. So these are a few ways the institutions around us can really genuinely help amplify the younger voice.
Recognition often follows meaningful work. And one such milestone in your journey is, of course, being named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list.
Yes.
So, what was your immediate reaction when you got this news?
That's a fun story. So I actually applied with zero expectations. My nominator offered to nominate me, and I was like, there is no way I'm going to make the list. And a lot of people told me that you cannot make the list as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Usually, they take people